Oh, they've done it! RÜCKRUNDE, an instant hero! Can you believe it? Plenty attacking! No! The comeback is complete! A stunning second half from Schalke!
Blau-Weiß sein Leben lang. Herzlich willkommen zurück auf SchalkeMerica. Welcome back, 2023. We're back trying to remember how to do all this stuff again. My name is Richard Carmen, your host. Joining me, as always, the co-host, Jack Mangan. Happy 2023.
Happy 2023. Pretty fluid intro. I thought you were in pretty good form there.
First one of the year.
Almost
First
as
of the season.
Almost as fluid as the hair at the moment. Look at you got the Winterpause beard, the Winterpause flow in full effect.
Yeah.
For those of you listening to this podcast today, you should definitely go to YouTube and see what we have going on. What I'm going to feast my eyes on at the moment.
My goodness.
Yeah, good to be back in the saddle. I feel like we haven't done this in like literally a calendar year. So, we have to shake the rust off a little bit. But here we go.
We do. And who else has to shake the rust off? It's Schalke. They're back. Preseason, you want to take those friendlies and forget about them. Not the greatest results in the preseason, but tonight we're going to talk about all the moves that's happened in the winter break. Talk about the game that we just passed against Eintracht Frankfurt, and then look ahead to RB Leipzig, which we play tomorrow on Tuesday midday. So English woche in effect, and also again on Sunday we got Cologne coming up on the back end. So it's a lot to get into here. So Jack, let's just get into the transfer moves, huh? A few moves to talk about. People want to know who came in, who left. I want to know because I really wasn't paying attention that much. How about you? Were you paying attention much to the moves that happened?
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like there actually wasn't that much noise, especially given how long this Winterpause was with the World Cup as well. When you talk about like the amount of time that it was spread across, it didn't seem like there was actually that much going on in the transfer market for us. And so at least not as much as we would potentially like, given what we think we probably need to accomplish to stay competitive here. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, we knew going into this break that we had some issues, right? The goaltender, we were pretty fed up with Schwoloff. Defense was suspect at times. Midfield were okay, and the attack just weren't scoring goals. So we knew we had some deficiency there. So let's see what we've done so far. One of the guys I guess all three of these guys, but one of the guys who started coming around towards the end of the first half, Florent Mollet, he gets sold to Nantes. I guess the expectation was he was going to come in and start playing, at least from him. Schalke were saying, we're not going to give it to you. You're in a rotation, at least under Rice. And so he's gone. It looks like he's gone to Nantes for 1.5 million. Florian Flick, fan of the show, or we're a fan of him, I should say. I mean, he might be a fan of the show. I don't know. He should
be based on how, the good press that we give him right now. Yeah, go ahead.
I agree. No, he should. But he goes on loan to Nuremberg, and then Karim Çalhanoğlu. We're weak in the left back position, and he gets loaned out to Sandhausen to link back up with Ahmed Katucu. So three guys there. Let's talk about the guys who left. First, the guy Mollet, the new guy. He comes in and then he's gone again. That's baffling.
Yeah, so Florent Mollet, I mean, that's the most recent of the departures. This was just a couple days ago as well, I think. And I mean, personally, I'm not too upset about it. As you mentioned, he kind of came on a little bit had some better moments, that kind of stick out in the mind, towards the end of his time here. But in general, obviously struggled to get a foothold and was rarely impressive to me at all in any of his appearances. I didn't think he was particularly good. And I don't really think he showed a whole lot. So if we can get, a little bit of money back for him, and then move on, I'm not particularly upset about that. It was the two youngsters in Florian Flick and Karim Çalhanoğlu that I found surprising. I think, you can look at loan departures like that of, Marvin Pieringer in the summer, as we kind of go into a season, presumably needing attacking help. And then we get rid of one of our more promising younger players. As you mentioned, thin at left back at the moment, Ouyan still injured. Right. So Çalhanoğlu usually decent when he comes in. And so the fact that we would have him move on is surprising. Once again, maybe just a case of, coaching staff making different player estimations and valuations than we do from afar. And then Florian Flick as well, who, hasn't really done anything necessarily like stand out in terms of saying like, I should definitely be starting every game. But I think he's been I think he's been solid and certainly like, worthy of substitute minutes and the occasional start at a minimum. I think he's been like, pretty much as good as anybody for the most part.
Yeah.
With the exception of like Tom Kraus, and maybe crawl a little bit towards the end of the before the break, but like he's been up and down, that kind of thing. So I think Flick is usually kind of a steady presence. Very surprised by those two departures, and I don't know. Hopefully we don't regret it. That's all I can say.
Yeah, hopefully we don't regret it. These are moves. They're if nothing else, they're depth moves. They're depth players that we could use. We're very thin as it is on the team overall, and one of our starters seems to go down, we seem to struggle. And so to have extra bodies at left back, defensive midfield, or in the attacking midfield seems kind of silly. But the hope is that we bring in some guys that will help us stay in the league. We're obviously dead last in the table. I think we're 5 points behind Hertha Berlin at the moment. I was gonna say, if you're listening in or you're watching right now, drop in the chat. And Eric, right on cue, drops in. Good evening, Eric. Good evening. Good to hear you. Good to have you back on here. So yeah, these moves are suspect, but I, like you said about Millet, I agree. At least if he's not going to play him, sell him, right? That's what the whole thing was with Harit was. So 1.5 million coming back. Considering we only had 2 million euros to spend as it was, to add another 1.5 to that for players we're potentially trying to buy, like as you see on the right hand to the screen. Latest rumors: Gelson Fernandez from Sporting Portugal. He cost 2 million euros right there. So maybe that Millet deal right there could have afford him. Who knows? But yeah, it's interesting to see. Let's see who they brought in to maybe help us make this a little bit easier for us. We'll skip this last guy, Boujaleb. He's probably out of favor for good with us. Matt's in the house. Greetings, Matt. First off, the guy who's the man of the hour, at least in my book, Soichiro Kozuki. He came on in during the winter break from the original Vest. Actually, he came from the 5th tier division team. I forgot what the team was, but he's been very impressive in the preseason. He was impressive. And the question was, would that translate into the Bundesliga? We saw the first game. He was one of our best players right off the bat. What are your thoughts on Kozuki? His early impact and the cheap signing, I guess, overall.
Well, we're going with the Japanese whiskey this evening in honor of one Soichiro Kozuki, who, as you said, bursting out of the scene out of nowhere. Really, this is not somebody who has an extensive professional history to even look back upon. But I think we picked him up. Was it Durin? I think potentially. And then he was, as you said, playing the original Liga West and tearing it up. Honestly, you have to say. And so that was enough to catch the eye of obviously the first team and say that's the kind of injection we potentially need into the first team senior squad. And here he is, and made a big impact in this game. Potentially unlucky to not have impacted the scoreline ultimately, but certainly seems like potentially a stroke of huge genius out of nowhere to just kind of come find this person over the past 6 months to a year whenever we recruited them in. And then if that initial appearance was any indication of what we might expect from him the rest of the season, could ultimately prove to be a pretty huge thing.
He's been everything so far, and granted, this is one game plus a preseason that I thought Lee Dong-jong would have provided with his technical ability on the ball. And what we saw in the preseason and so far through the first game back in the RÜCKRUNDE is that Kozuki seems to be the guy who could provide some spark of much needed offensive spark that we've been lacking here in the first half of the season so far. So good pickup there for sure. Moving on, we got Timothy Kalajdzic. We got him just before the end of the first half of the season. Just a depth player overall. I don't think we got the chance to see. Maybe saw a couple minutes of him at the very end against Bayern or something like that. A big name, or I guess a big name, a surprising move for me, youngster Yuri Urinen from Ligue 1 that we got on loan. When he came in, I wasn't sure about this because I didn't know about the Çalhanoğlu move at the time. And I'm like, well, where is he going to fit? If it's a loan, like, it doesn't make sense to me. Oyan, I guess, is still injured. Obviously, Çalhanoğlu has been moved on to Sandhausen. So makes sense, I guess. And I was skeptical at first, but that first game, I was pleasantly surprised, Jack.
I don't know. I
didn't know anything about him.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was fine-ish. I wasn't thrilled with our backline in general against Frankfurt for the most part. But yeah, I mean, not a bad performance. We'll have to wait and see. Finish, which is a plus for all the Pookie fans. bringing back another Finn to the club, so maybe we get
right.
some Pookie power in there. I don't know, but anyway, yeah, we'll see. He's gonna need to do well once again because we don't have Çalhanoğlu any longer. That position and the opposite side of the pitch as well have been trouble areas for us over the past couple seasons at times.
100%. Another sticking on the loans, Nicholas Tower from Mainz. We got defensive midfielder. I imagine he's gonna be more of a depth player more than a starter. Obviously, you mentioned some of the guys you mentioned. Kraus, Flick had a decent first half, as well as Krall. Krall and Kraus seem to be the mainstays. We saw from the first game that Latza's back in the mix as well. So I would imagine, I don't know about you, what your thoughts are, but I would imagine Toyer, it would be more of a depth player in this team, unless you know something about him. Because I don't know anything about him. Come from Mainz.
No, yeah, I would agree. Which once again just makes it weird. Like, why are we loaning Flick out and bring? You know what I mean? I don't know. Unless it's literally just like, hey, we can't give him enough game time. Here's somebody who's okay with us not giving him enough game time, and Flick can go get more elsewhere. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah. Moving on, Michael Frey. We got to see him for a couple minutes into the game. Big striker. I guess not big. He's smaller than the strikers we have, but he has a penchant for scoring goals. At least at Royal Antwerp, he had been. So I like the move so far. There's a chance we'll probably see him start tomorrow. Some of the early prognostications is that he may get a start. I don't know why he would get a start over Poulter, but I mean, he brings another dimension. I think he's a little bit faster than some of the guys we already have. He's a little bit more mobile. He was in and around the net. I thought that the couple minutes that he was there, but it's still much early. I don't know enough about him to say, yeah, he's definitely a guy we could bring in to relieve Toronto here now and then. But thoughts on Michael Frey?
Yeah, well, there's some drama too, right? Back at his parent club about his attitude and like his relationship with the coaching staff. So that's never.
We've been through that before, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of it's something that I would kind of like to avoid given the issues we've had with that. And usually, if someone's trying to leave a club for that reason, it doesn't necessarily bode well to how well they're going to integrate quickly. And so we'll see. But yeah, hopefully it's a successful loan move. As far as Poulter goes, I believe he's still injured, so he's not available to start in place of Tirada. Yeah, and it just sounds like they think that Tirada's just not on the pace. You know what I mean? Just not up to it at the moment. And they want to try something else. So, which you can understand. Once again, I don't think it's been entirely Tirada's fault in the first half of the season. No. You need to have service in order to score goals for the most part, and that's something that's been lacking. But yeah, he also hasn't necessarily made the most of some of the opportunities he has had, and hasn't found the ways to impact proceedings the way we were used to in the second division. It's been a pretty big drop off. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Frey.
Yeah. We'll see what he can provide. Maybe we get to see him against Leipzig in this one as well, a little bit more than we saw against Eintracht. And then lastly, fresh off the press over the last couple hours here, Tim Skark over from Union Berlin. Originally, the deal was supposed to be on, and then Union said no, it's off, and then a lot of drama in this one, and back on. And so he's going to be joining Schalke with a loan fee of 250,000 euros. So it's got to be a good side. It's right winger. We already have Brunner on the right back. Center backs were still hurting. We'll get to that in the game recap. But right winger, I mean, we need winger help. Skark could help us. Kozuki could help us. Bolter's obviously a fixture on the left-hand side, but doesn't mean he can't be replaced. You got Drexler, who also can provide wing opportunities. But a true winger we don't really have outside maybe Kozuki now. So it's got to be a good move, right? Positive move.
Yeah, Rovin Schroeder, who? No, I'm just kidding. But no, but this is one I think that people are pleased about us being able to get over the line. Hasn't made an impact this season. I think only 3 substitute appearances, totaling something like 45 minutes of game time all season so far. Yeah. So you can understand why a loan move is on offer. But the previous season in the second division with us, down there, he had 5 goals in 19 matches. Missed the entire first half of the season pretty much due to injury, and then still managed to score 5. I think he had a couple assists as well in there anyway. But it made an impact, and for whatever reason hasn't been able to replicate that in the Bundesliga. But I'm certainly willing to take a chance on him. I think looking at this Frankfurt game, I mean, I think Bolter as well, for the most part, kind of looked off the pace in the way that Tirada has. Bolter had 1 or 2 nice balls, but just we're not making the most of our attacking opportunities. And here's somebody that can, potentially be a little bit more decisive, make a difference. So Yeah, I think it's a nice pickup, and glad we got that one over the line. As you said, it looked like it was dead for a little bit. So
Funky Hunter's in the house. Follow him on YouTube. Makes great videos. 9 English. We're only speaking English here. Nothing kind of Deutsch. Or we have a little bit German, but we're not going to speak German. We're not going to insult ourselves by messing up the beautiful language, right? So we're going to stick to English, what we know, what we barely know. At least what I can speak for myself.
I've been putting in my practice on Duolingo, but I'm quite a far way away from being able to conduct a podcast in German at this point. So
yes,
so unfortunately not.
But we would during our live streams for the games, we will have German subtitles in there. So look out for that, I would say. But where were we before we chat's going wild now. So a couple rumors here. So obviously we mentioned the rumor of Gelson Fernandez. And that's a rumor I just heard as of recently. Not too high on that, though. Jeremy brought up a good point about William Isidore, which I heard is someone who could help us out a lot, I think. And we'll see. I mean, again, all we can really offer at this point is loan deals, probably, maybe something very cheap. I can't expect us to do anything too crazy. I would almost focus on center backs at this point, considering how what we saw at the end of the first half of the season and then what we saw this weekend. Center backs seem to be an area where we're off the pace as well. I think as much as the valiant effort as the guys have been putting back there.
Yeah, I mean, we need Vandenberg to get healthy, I think, in a big way. Because he's still recovering. I don't know what his timetable is in terms of, whether or not he's going to even be back in time to make a difference in the second half of the season. But that would be huge, yeah, because it's Matriciani and that pairing is not working well at the moment, unfortunately.
There you go. Fresh off the press, Funky Hunter with a new video about Skark in 8 hours. There you go. Go check that out. SchalkeMerica is my Bible. That's right. It is. It's ours too. Thank you. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with these signings, but let's get into the game because that lot to talk about with the game. We know the scoreline 3-0 to Eintracht for our first game of the second half of the season. Its game was deceiving in a way. Look at the lineups. Schwoloff in goal. Let me see if I can share this page here just so other people can see it, huh? I love the first day back. We're just trying to still figure this whole thing out, Jack. We're work in progress here. It's all right.
It's been a long break, my friends. Pausa.
We're still shaking off the blues there.
Yeah, with
Schwoloff in goal still. I think it was I guess Ralph Fairman's not there yet. There's no one really other option than Schwoloff at the moment, at least not in the eyes of Rice. Brunner, Yoshida, Matriciani, and then Uronen, the new guy, the Finnish player, drop back there in the back four. Latza back in the holding pivot position with Kraus in the middle. Kraus was a mainstay in the first half of the season. New man Kozuki on the right with Larson. Larson was a surprise to me that he got the start. And Bulter with obviously Toyota up top. For me, I was surprised to see not so much Kozuki start, but Uronen start. Maybe that's given the lack of players we have at the moment health-wise. It's not should be a surprise. And then Latza back in the lineup. Thoughts on the lineup in this one?
Yeah, I mean, with Thea not available, Uronen I think was going to get the start probably. I think Krall was available. Was he? Is he hurt as well?
But yeah, I believe he is.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, Danny Latza getting the start is a little bit interesting, just because I don't think he's really been kind of the first name on the team sheet for most of the time he's been here yet. Kazuki right into the starting lineup. I think, yeah, Larson centrally, which we've talked about sometimes too. Like, I wonder if he could play centrally as opposed to like playing on like the wing, which he's been doing for the most part. So we're kind of finally seeing that. And then, Bolter and Terada getting the first look here to start the second half of the season, which I'm not upset about, obviously. Like, once again, those guys have done a lot for us over the last couple of years. Yeah. Still want to give them a chance under Rice to see if they can impact things. But it sounds like potentially there may be a little bit of a short leash there, at least as far as Terada is concerned, and us trying to rotate some new talent in. I think with the signing of young Timmy today, that's possibly going to throw Bolter's place into jeopardy as well. Yeah. Because I think they'll probably play him maybe on the left-hand side and keep Kazuki on the right.
Good job.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to take Kazuki off if he keeps impacting proceedings like he did against Frankfurt.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then looking at Frankfurt, Kevin Trapp, decent goalkeeper, goaltender. I'm thinking about hockey now. Looking at this lineup for them, obviously the danger men, I should say. Mario Götze, he's a little bit aged now, but he's still having a decent season. Lindstrom for me and Kolomoani. Kolomoani leading the league in assists this year, so he's obviously a playmaker. And then Lindstrom just seems to have our number whenever we play him, whether it's in the cup game or in the league game. And he's been having a pretty good season overall. I mean, he can score fancy goals when he gets the goals, and it showed this weekend. But I mean, those are the main danger men for me. I knew it was gonna be a difficult day with Kevin Trapp, because Kevin Trapp just seems to make big saves when he has to. Solid Bundesliga keeper. Thoughts on their lineup?
Yeah, Kamada is a favorite of mine. I think he's so classy. Great movement off the ball, a lot of shoulder checks and everything. He's just there you go on screen. Richard to go, no cap. There you go. Yeah, Kamada, I always love watching him play. He's a dangerous presence. I think when you have like both him and Goetze in the same team, there's a lot of class on the ball potentially there, and some creativity as well. So yeah, and then Lindstrom was just, I mean, that Lindstrom-Matriciani matchup did not go in our favor, to say the least, multiple times in this game. And then, yeah, of course, like you mentioned, Kolomoani up top, having a good campaign.
Yeah, and it's funny because I said this was a crazy game, because the good news is we held Eintracht to 3 shots on goal. The bad news is they scored all goals in each one of those shots. I thought we came out better. Obviously, Kozuki was a big impact on why I thought we looked good. A lot of opportunities came through him. Urunen had some opportunities as well with some in-swingers. But, we were – I thought, at least at the time of the game, first 20 minutes or so, we probably were the more dominant of the teams on display. We had better the ball possession. And then they counter. We knew they're going to be deadly in the counter. And Lidstrom literally just slaloms through Matriciani in the defense and scores a freaking howitzer with his right foot or whatever it was. And as soon as that goal went in, I'm like, oh, come on. We got to pick it back up. But it's hard, because we've seen this so many times this season where we felt like we were the better team, and all of a sudden a goal gets happening. And like the Union Berlin game, right? We were doing pretty well until they scored their first goal.
Yeah.
And it's just frustrating.
Yeah, and I mean, the way that one came about was frustrating too, because I think it came off of a goal kick. So it was kind of out of nothing. It was just like a long ball and then like 2 quick passes, and suddenly, Lindstrom was sort of in behind. And Matriciani backpedaling, trying to figure it out. He just gets him off balance. I think he actually megged him with the final touch as well.
Yeah, he did.
And I don't want to be too difficult on Shvalov here, because obviously, he gets played into a 1v1. He hits he hits it with pace, but it's not necessarily out of his reach.
No,
he just doesn't get his arm up in time. I don't know. So I don't want to be too difficult on Shvalov there, because Matriciani got burned, and we kind of got burned in general very quickly. And that buildup was quick buildup from them. But yeah, really well taken. Lindstrom, I mean, that's a fantastic solo goal, honestly. I mean, Matriciani at center back aside, that's still a pretty fantastic solo effort. So you gotta give credit there. But a good start overall. And I thought that Schalke looked very lively from the beginning, trying to win back possession when we lose it quickly, putting a lot of pressure on them and transitioning quickly. I think the first 10 minutes or so we looked pretty sharp. So that was promising. And I think in general in this game, some better organization, showing some structure, which you would hope would be the case after Rice had all this time off to kind of work with the team and get his ideas across a little bit with that break. But yeah, I mean, goal aside, not the worst start possible. And Frankfurt's been a solid team this year. So this is I think that says something as well. It's the quality of the opponent too.
Yeah, they're currently second in the table, so they're having a pretty decent season here. Definitely shout out to the boys of the Hey Eintracht Frankfurt podcast. They're having a fantastic season compared to us, for sure. We're at the opposite ends of the tables here. But yeah, after the first half, down 1-0, they had the one shot on goal and a goal. We dominated pretty much every category except for the goal department. And so it's frustrating because, we had this potential. We just score the goals. I mean, the guys, all of them, Kazuki had opportunities. Kazuki had a great header. I think first or second half, I can't remember. Point blank, could he positioned it better? Yes, but great opportunity for the little guy, and then obviously Bolter and Torod and all the guys getting involved. I was hopeful at that point. I think I was hopeful at that point going into the second half. I think overall it's an okay performance, but then like I said, 2 late goals. Up until the end of the game, before that second goal was scored, I thought, okay, we got to get a goal here. And then sure enough, they hit us with 2 late ones. I mean, yeah,
they started getting in behind a little bit too easy. The last 15 minutes of that game
It opened up.
Yeah, but I mean, for the vast majority of that game, it was like a 1-0 deficit. And we were competitive and looking the more likely to score at times as well. And as you mentioned, I mean, we had more total shots. We had one more shot on target. The difference, we had 4 shots on target. They had 3. Schwalov saved none of them.
Yeah.
And Trapp saved 100% of them. And that was ultimately the difference. I mean, to be fair, like Kazuki's header was kind of right at him.
Yeah.
Great header,
good
nice
reaction.
contact.
Good
reaction. I mean, great header, nice contact, but like kind of right at him.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing. But he made a great save, I think, on that Terada header. Which kind of tipped it wide of the post, and then ultimately also on Fry in like the was it like 95th minute or something like that, which was a pretty high XG opportunity. We won the XG battle in this game too.
Unreal.
Which not don't want to obviously never read too much into single game XG stats, but like and once again when you're trying to evaluating the sum total of chances created and that kind of a thing, like I think that goes to show that this was a decent performance from this, and certainly I don't think necessarily a 3-0 result on the balance of the full 90 minutes just kind of ended up that way late. But ultimately, that's the way it's been going for us. And we need to performances are only going to go so far. Need points at some point if we're going to stay up. So,
Yeah. And we are dead last in the table, 5 points behind, at least 5 points behind Hertha Berlin at the moment. So we need to get some points. I think we're 9 and they're on 14. And so we need to find ways to get win. These moral victories aren't good enough. Funky Hunter and Sambo giving love. But yeah, overall the lineup, I think it was again, like you said, it's like there's some positives to take away, right? The new guys did fairly well. I don't think Schwalov can be blamed for the first or third goal, right? Both of those were howitzers, couldn't really do nothing. Second goal, you can say what you want about that. There's really poor defense on there. Overall, I mean, the big takeaways for me in the game are the center backs were off their pace. Matriciani or anybody, that Lidstrom goal was fantastic, but I think position-wise, he could have done a lot better. He looked more like a right back in a center back position on that goal. Yoshida looked found out on that was a second goal, maybe even third goal too. It's just
there were a lot of moments. I think it seemed like Rice was trying to get us to play with a little bit more pressure and to step to people and put pressure on ball carriers and people receiving passes. That seemed to be a kind of consistent thing this match, and I'm kind of concerned about the wisdom of that.
Yeah,
given the personnel you have, like I can understand wanting to play that way, but when your 2 center backs are Yoshida and Matriciani, if one of them steps and you leave and like they leave a gap for like another runner to get in behind, the other center back is not catching that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if Yoshida steps and Matriciani has to then track like somebody else and kind of come across at an angle, he's not getting there, and Yoshida's not getting there either. Yeah. And I just think it's silly and kind of naive at times, given the relative pace of those two guys. It's tough. Although I think Derek Ray on the commentary said Matriciani was like our fastest player on the pitch or something. Don't know how that's possible. But anyway,
I think he's the slowest. I think he's the slowest, fastest guy in the Bundesliga or something.
But yeah, no, I think that's a little bit concerning. But yeah, I mean, what you mean. We're talking about Schwalov. Yeah, I'm not trying to blame him too much. The second goal, Bore's goal. Yeah. Once again, that's another really good solo goal. He just kind of burned Yoshida and Matriciani on that, and I don't blame Schwalov for that one either. So, tough. I mean, Frankfurt were decisive when they got into those 1v1s. I think, their goals were well taken. They deserved them. But I think outside of those moments, we created at least several moments of our own that were potentially worthy of making an impact if we had better and more decisive finishing. And then also I think in this game in general, we didn't make enough of, once again, our moments when we not like like the final ball, but like sometimes we'd break them down and we'd have like a man advantage or something, and it looked like we'd be in a position to potentially create something in the final third, and they all just fizzled out. Like Bolter would take like an extra touch where he could just whip a ball in, or something along those lines, and they all just kind of so like
close.
And that's where as optimistic as I kind of was watching this game at times, saying like, hey, Rice actually looks like he's made an impact here. Once again, in terms of like the team looks well drilled, more organized than we were. Like that bodes well. I think we were in this game. We were competitive in this game, but it almost made me at the same time a little bit more pessimistic because it underscored the lack of quality. Like it's difficult to tell where your quality level is when your team is just kind of in a shambles structurally, because it's harder to judge. But then when your team is actually kind of like playing well, it kind of underscores the individual quality of players more in their decision making and their touch and their moments. And I felt like watching that game, I was like, ooh, yeah, we don't have it. Like I don't think we have the personnel. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see if there's any more moves in the transfer market. We'll see if some of the guys we brought in are going to be able to make an impact. Kazuki as well. But yeah, kind of in a weird mood after that game. What's your kind of general takeaway from things?
Yeah,
How are you feeling?
I'm in a weird position too, because I think I'm happy about the positive things I did see, right? The young guys, Kazuki really being our best player, it seemed like in that game. Urunen seemed like to be solid, at least in the left back position for now. Midfield's okay. Latza did better than I expected he was going to do, but again, that final third, like you mentioned, the last play just seems to be lacking, and it's probably a lack of quality, and so it's bittersweet for me, because I think, yeah, there's some good things to take away. Oh, but we'll have like 2 days to mourn because we play RB Leipzig tomorrow. So we really have no time. This is English woche, so obviously a game on Saturday, game tomorrow, and then a game on Sunday again. So there's no time to kind of like figure this out. We have to just go with it and hope the guys can build off the positivity and then get a result against RB Leipzig, who just drew Bayern this past weekend, who were trying to, they're trying to hunt them down. And so difficult team that we got to come up against here. And then I'll give obviously Cologne on the back end. And so we'll see. I mean, if we can figure out a way to score goals, then I think we'll be okay. But that's been our trouble all season long. It's scoring goals.
Yes, it has.
And so, I don't know.
No, the thing too is, like, even games like this, that 1-0 result, that can't turn into a 3-0 result, because once again, if we are able to find some points here and get into a relegation fight, then goal difference might come into play.
Yes.
And we have to find a way to not have these lopsided scorelines, particularly when we played as well in this match. We can't allow that to just kind of turn into like, a 3 or 4-0 result. We just can't do it. But I do appreciate you giving a shout out to Donny Latza. That's something that I've been pretty critical on since he, joined Schalke. I think that was maybe his best performance in a Schalke kit so far against Frankfurt. I thought he was really solid.
Up there, yeah.
Classy and influential in possession. I think he was like kind of man marking Kamada as well at times, and did a decent job in that regard, and kind of harassing him and not letting him have maybe the freedom that he would have liked to have for a lot of that. So I think he deserves a shout, and that's going to be important too. We're going to need him to play well, I think, down the stretch, whether he's starting or in a rotational role.
Yeah. The only other game I could think that Latza did well was against Au in the second division last year, where he had a goal or 2 goals in that game, goal and an assist, 2 goals and assist or something like that. So, this is a really good performance by Latza. We need it, especially if Kral's going to be out, or if he moves, or who knows what's going to happen with this team, right? We don't know what the transfer is going to bring to us this January. So, but big game tomorrow against RB Leipzig. Obviously, the team is in the top 4, looking to try to dethrone Bayern. Will that happen? I don't know, but I mean, some guys we got to worry about. Obviously, Andre Silva, a fantastic striker. He just continues to score goals for them. Emil Forsberg, we all know about him. Sabalazai, Danny Olmo. I mean, they just have a plethora of attackers. Leimer's very good. Schlager's very good. It's just a good team. It's a good, solid team. They're probably the weakest spot is maybe the goalkeeper, and that's not a bad position that they have, honestly. So, will they rotate? I would imagine some, but their guys on the bench are good too. So, it's going to be interesting to see what we do. I mean, they didn't even play much of Werner and Poulsen and Haidara, and you imagine they're going to see a little bit more of those guys too. Those are really the guys who are the key guys for them. So I don't know, man. It's going to be a true test for us. The first test was against Bayern. We did well. I don't know. We can't have a big scoreline against us.
I mean, here's the thing. It's like we come back from this long break straight into an English woche, and it's top 4 Frankfurt, top 4, top 5 Leipzig.
Yep.
And then on the weekend we have Cologne, who just put 7 goals past Wolfsburg somehow. It's like, I mean, just like, okay. So yeah, not a particularly friendly run of fixtures here to welcome us back. But we said that before the break, is that like it's not about to get easier.
No.
When we come back from this, it's the schedule was looking kind of thorny. Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, I think there's positives to take away from that performance, but ultimately it's still a 3-0 loss, and that's the kind of thing that we just can't have. So we have to find a way to get results, and it's not looking like that's going to be in the odds for us tomorrow against Leipzig.
What do we have to do to? And I say a win is going to be hard, but I mean, keep it close, keep this game close, a draw, get something out of this game. What do we have to do in your eyes against a Leipzig to have any kind of chance?
Probably not have Yoshida and Matriciani as a center back pairing. And I say that I'm not trying to disrespect it. It's just like that is not. I'm sorry, it's not. I don't think it's a Bundesliga center back pairing. Mostly on the Matriciani side. But it's not a good combination. I thought that the Vandenberg Yoshida combination had a little bit more potential just because you have a youthful, more
Pacier.
athletic counterpart who can cover a little bit more ground, along with, the slightly more composed, heady Yoshida. But yeah, the Matriciani, I don't know. Together, they just sort of duplicate, each other's weaknesses. I feel like they magnify that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Too many individual mistakes. I think Frankfurt pulled us out of position pretty easily in this game. The system that Glasgow's running, they seem like they have a lot of rotations where players will kind of like swap positions on the field and just kind of move back and forth, and that's difficult for us to track.
Yes.
I thought we were playing pretty narrow defensively at times too, and opening up a lot of spaces on the wings for some like overlapping runners to kind of sneak in and that kind of thing. So I think we're gonna have our hands full with Leipzig. I think it's gonna be, honestly, probably a miracle if we come out of that game any better than we came out of this Frankfurt match. I think we just really have to probably target that Cologne match on the weekend as one to try to throw everything at it and get some points. Got to try in all these matches, and we don't have any other competitions to worry about at this point. So, nothing to complain about from like we said a 2.5 month break. People should be fresh. You know what I mean? We have everything in our kind of in the cards here to kind of attack the second half of the season. But no, I'm not particularly optimistic about the rest of this week for us.
I am not either. I think the way to approach this game is kind of how we approached it in the past. At least remember the Robbie Matando game where he got a goal when we won 2-0 or 3-0 that game. Similar to that, where we gotta like park the bus and play on the counterattack and hope that we can get Kazuki and maybe Drexler or Bulter on a run there and try to get a counterattacking goal. Because if we expose ourselves like we did against Frankfurt, it's going to be a long day. And given we only had 2-3 days to kind of regroup from that last game, I am not looking forward to this game at all. So let's see what we can do. See what Rice can do. He'll have to prove himself as a manager with two heavyweights coming back to back like this, such a couple days notice. So we'll see. I'm not like you. I'm not too optimistic, but crazier things have happened, I guess. So I don't know, man. We'll see. Midday game. No live stream for sure. That's we both got our jobs we got to take care of, so not gonna be doing that. But maybe this weekend for Cologne, right? The game's on Sunday night, or Sunday. Anyway, anything to plug, Jack?
No, just nice to be back. I think as well that the break was probably much needed given the first half of the season, how that went. I think it's going to be probably an equally long second half of the season for us that we're in store for. So nice to get a little palate cleanser there, and ready to have my heart broken again.
Amen.
Ready for it. Bring it on.
Amen. We are hoping to release this before the Eintracht game, but our lives will get crazy even when there's no Schalke. We are working on other websites so we can write more and share more Schalke stuff. So be on the lookout for that in the near future. We're also trying to create a bigger community for our English community for our Schalke fans, our Schalke followers, and do a little Discord, and so everyone can get in there and chat there. So because we have people spread out all around, let's just bring everybody in one place and talk Schalke there together. Obviously the German community is huge, but for those who don't speak German very well, bring them to a place where they can speak English and talk Schalke. So be on the lookout for that here in the near future. So, long week ahead, English Woche. It's a lot to wrap our heads around, and it's such a short notice right back after the break. So, Jack, where can our followers find you on social media?
At JMMangan, JMMANGAN on Twitter. That's mid-season form.
There it is.
The break.
It is pretty good. Pretty good. You can find me at R_KHARMAN. Thank you for everyone who joined us in the chat tonight, and thank you for all those who listen to us around the globe. But we definitely appreciate it. So for Jack, I'm Richard. We'll catch you on the next episode, and let's hope the guys get one tomorrow and Sunday. So, Glück auf.